Hello, my name is Randy Bates. I am a home energy auditor / rater, and today we're going to talk about calculating financial return. We've got a few factors that motivate our residents whenever they give us a phone call. One of the factors is comfort. Are they able to maintain the level of temperature that they desire in their home, whether it be, is the home warm enough, is the home cool enough? And that's really a big motivator for most homeowners. Another factor is whether or not they're going to be able to save money. Can you do things for them in their home that allow them to save money on their utilities and that would allow them to be more efficient in their home? Health and safety is another factor. You have to look at things like how well the home ventilates when you're doing audits. You're looking at water drainage issues, whether or not you've got mold and things like that. You're also looking at quality of air issues within the home. And then you have home certification, which has to do with, in some cases, a LEED certification process geared around sustainability, or whether or not you would like to show that your home has met certain improvement requirements so that you can get a what's called an energy improvement mortgage, or in the case of new homes, energy efficient mortgages, or Energy Star programs. One of the overlying factors for health and safety and home certification is saving the planet. It's certainly something that's more important to people nowadays than, say, maybe 10, even 20 years ago. A lot of people are motivated by a desire to be part of a movement that allows us to live in a cleaner world and a world that's going to be safe for our kids to live in. Cost effective, when we talk about saving money, is how quickly an energy efficiency retrofit returns the initial investment. So that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about cost effective. So in this session, we're going to discuss what terms are, the length of the period of time that we're talking about, calculating simple payback, calculating annual return, calculating heat loss, and applying heat loss savings to financial return. So what is cost effective? Give me some examples of what you folks think cost effective is. Any ideas that, just whatever. I mean, it could be a car, but, ideally related to our industry. But, I mean, am I going to pay $5,000 for something that has an annual return of $50 in savings, yet I'm moving out in 2 years? And, how much value does that have to the next homeowner? In some cases, a lot. In some cases, it might not have any relevance at all, depending on the prospective homeowners. While simple payback is easy to compute, its weakness is that it fails to factor in the time value of money. Inflation, project lifetime or operation, and maintenance cost. To take these factors into account, a more detailed life cycle cost analysis must be performed. Simple payback is useful for making ballpark estimates of how long it will take to recoup an initial investment. So simple payback period. A retrofit costs $1,000 and saves $100 a year. What is the simple payback period on this retrofit? Obviously, it's 10 years. But I mean, this is a pretty rounded out example, but it's pretty much the same across the board. You just change the numbers up a little bit. So a retrofit costs $1,500 and saves $500 a year. What is the simple payback period? 3 years. This is annual return. A retrofit costs $1,000 and saves $100 a year. What is the annual return? So annual savings divided by investment equal $100 divided by $1,000 in this case, and a 10% annual return. So savings to investment ratio, a new Energy Star water heater will cost a homeowner $900 installed. The heater is expected to last 10 years and save $32 per year. So once again, in this example, if you look at this, the savings to investment ratio. So the annual savings times the life expectancy, so annual savings are 32 times 10 divided by the initial investment, 0.36, yeah. Okay, so ideally what we would like to have represented in our ratio would not be a 0.36, which is about 30%. Ideally we would like to have a 1, which would represent a 100% payback on the original investment. But we still have a 30% increase in savings over the other hot water heater that we replaced. So there is some payback involved in this scenario.
So basically what he's saying is the savings and investment ratio, the big thing he talked about, Randy talked about, if you're going to be moving, say, in 10 years, So you're gonna be moving in 10 years, so you're trying to figure out, is it worth it for me to invest in this, whatever? Is it going to pay for itself in the time that I have left in this house, right? Or in this case, the water heater, is the water heater gonna pay for itself by the time it breaks? So in this particular case, the water heater will break and will stop being functional by the time you save enough money to pay for the water heater. But if the savings to investment ratio was 1, okay, that means you would spend $900, and 10 years later, you would have saved that same $900. So in essence, the water heater would be free. The new water heater would be free. So what you're looking for with savings to investment ratio is you're looking for a savings to investment ratio of 1 or above.
And once again, there are other things to consider. How much comfort are you getting out of this? How much convenience are you getting out of doing the retrofit versus, yeah, you know, if you are going to invest $1,000 and you save $500 over the life of the item, and that other, you know, $50 a year is worth the additional convenience of that item to you, or whatever your other motivators are. And that's really all you're doing in a lot of cases. You're going, okay, this is what you have. This is what you can do to improve your efficiency with the items that you have, along with the other factors, health and safety, you know, saving the planet, the other motivators. But this is generally, you know, the workup that you do, and this is the formula that you kind of walk people through as you're talking to them about what it would take to do things maybe a little bit above and beyond what just the requirement is for that home. You can really just, if you know how much they're going to be saving a month, you know, whether it's in BTUs or whether it's going to be in kilowatts, and you know the price of that. There are different softwares. I use a software that allows me to just plug in the utilities for a year. Like we were talking about yesterday, being able to narrow down, you know, what usage is strictly for gas and hot water. Yesterday, I think one of the groups were talking about that in the basement, being able to narrow that down. So if you go, okay, in the summertime, the only thing that I'm using is my hot water, and this is just kind of a basic way of looking at it, but the only thing I'm using for gas is my hot water. I know what my hot water is running me every month in the summertime. If I know that I'm going to improve the efficiency of my hot water heater by X amount, then my savings are going to be relative to that efficiency improvement. You can manually do it. The more things that you involve and the longer of a period of time that you're looking at, the more convenient it is to have a software that you can do that with, for sure. You know, it's not an exact science, because, you know, what if their usage last year wasn't the same as the usage is this year? What if their what if their behaviors have changed on that? So you're never really giving anybody an exact number on these things, for sure. But these are based on previous behavior and future modeling, you know, that this is what the results certainly could be. Okay, here's another savings to investment ratio. Weatherizing the attic will cost the homeowner $1,700. They expect to live there for 20 years. You estimate they will save $320 per year. So what are we going to do on this one? We're going to multiply our annual savings times our life expectancy. Everybody agree with that? 6,400? Okay, and what's our investment? So that's probably a pretty good ratio there, huh?
Yeah, that's better than
Over 1.
We all wish we could do that in the stock market. Okay, so we've already really pretty much discussed this, but should the homeowner in the previous 2 slides upgrade the water heater or weatherize their attic? This is the standard top 2 items a lot of times when you go into a home. You know, where can we save the most amount of money, and what are the recommendations that we're going to make for you? You know, and like you said in this case, you know, they could probably get by without weatherizing their attic as far as being able to function in their home and do those types of things. But they're certainly going to get more money back on it. But as you said, they're probably going to buy a hot water heater at some point or another as well. So, and that's another motivator. The bottom line is, you know, what's the difference in price between the Energy Star hot water heater and the basic hot water heater, you know, that you're able to install on this? You know, like Milo said earlier, it's a lot of big words and it seems like a lot of banking terms, but really you're just kind of, you know, making common sense equations that you make most of the time when you make purchases in life. You know, these are most of the things that you would weigh against each other when you decide to buy something. So I use a product called Optimizer. And there's a company called Energy Logic, and they do what are called provider services for people that are ResNet raters. So if you become a ResNet rater, we talked about that a little bit yesterday, right, everybody? Don't get all wrapped up in it, but it's a little bit different than a BPI. There are provider services for ResNet raters. And these guys, basically, I guess when you're like an insurance agent, you probably have a provider, that you have that encompasses that area or whatever to make sure the standards are maintained, the bookkeeping and all of the record keeping. Everything I do gets QA'd through Energy Logic. Anyway, that's what they do around here. And they've got a software that's pretty new called Optimizer out. I like it quite a bit. If you just go and Google energy rating software, there's probably about 15 different softwares, and there's probably about 7 or 8 free ones. I'm using a program right now called ResCheck that some of the municipalities around here require. And you guys talked about heating loss and heat gain and all those things, right? Did you figure out that? You figured out how to figure that out for insulation on walls? Have we done that yet? Okay. Well, really a lot of what this software does is just building that home based on the insulation, the R value of every structure in that home. Every part of the envelope, you assign an R value and a square footage to it. You tell it where the windows are, so you know what the window to wall ratio is. And then you tell it where the doors are, and then, there's a few other things that you do in there. But for the most part, you put the mechanical systems that are in it, what the efficiency level of the mechanical systems is, and some of them are more complex than others, but it's all there. It's all encompassing. It's got estimator sheets on it. You put specific price ranges for different services you provide. Hours, how many people you require per specific square footage, based on the amount of insulation that you're putting in. It gives you, if you plug in your numbers for how you run your business and what your costs are, it'll give them everything. It's pretty accurate.